Just as Mark Pavelich made American history, assisting in bringing home the gold to America for Team USA, the Miracle on Ice, for the love of the red, white, and blue, Mark also arrived at Eagle's healing nest because of love. All the stars aligned, forever connecting our hearts. I received a call from a nest son, Jason DeShaw from Montana. This is how the call went. Hey Ma, it's Jason. I'm here with Clint. You remember, my buddy Clint? We need your help. Me. You know that I will help if I can. So Jason said, I told Clint, if anyone could help, it would be you. So they shared the story about Mark and his battle with mental health, and that he was at St. Peter Hospital. I said, if you believe in him, and you believe that he needs a nest, let's bring him home. So through the team of support, lawyers, a couple of players, and his sister Jean, the journey started to bring Pav home. I worked with St. Peter's staff, and two of them stated that Mark did not belong there. The day came when we could go pick him up. Bruce and I hit the road. We arrived at St. Peter's State Hospital. Although the grounds are beautiful, it made me feel cold, alone, sad, fearful, and a feeling of hopelessness just driving in. I could not imagine how Mark felt and all those that were there. Sitting in the parking lot, waiting, out comes two staff, wheeling a cart with very little personal items and a guitar. They literally handed me a big envelope and said, we're not sure what we're supposed to do. This doesn't happen here. That made me smile, as I had promised Clint and Jason I would fight for Mark. I had never worked with the state hospital, so that challenge was accepted, and now another promise was kept. Standing before me was Pav. He was much smaller in size than I imagined, although his heart and soul was bigger than life. I asked if I could give him a hug. As we hugged, he said thank you and expressed his sadness for those that he was leaving behind that had no one to help them. Bruce shook hands, and they loaded up his few items. I said, let's go get a coffee. In true Mark form, he tried to pay for the coffee. We sipped it, took a picture, and sent it to Clint, Jason, and Jean, his sister. We were ready to go home. Mark was ready, nervous, scared of the unknown, anxious. He was welcomed to the nest and got settled in. The veterans protected him from the outside and reminded him that he was safe. Over the next few days, he got settled in and was doing what he needed to get done. He would walk the grounds, he would sit and talk, and that's when he shared with me the vision of the ranch and how the nest was what he envisioned. Love, peace, hope, and home, just like Jason DeShaw felt the first time that he came. He shared about his family, whom he loved very much, the sadness he also felt for all the trauma in his life. He was humble, and when he first arrived, he would just sit quietly and not really look at you. I would always get a hug, even at 5 a.m. when he was just finishing his morning workout and I was just starting mine. Mark quietly found his family, his purpose, faith, and community. He would share music with the veterans, mentor them, and love them. He helped in the clothing room, gave them lessons in fishing in the elements and not in a warm fish house. He visited the local coffee shop Jitters and the Tutti Frutti Cafe for homemade pie. He helped veterans get to their appointments. He was smiling, holding his head higher, laughing and loving those around him. He was home, and he was just Mark. No frills, no hoopla, no limelight. He touched and helped so many lives here at the nest. My firm belief is that if it had been anyone else other than Mark Pavelich, U.S. Olympic gold medalist, this would have played out far differently. He had a court hearing in Duluth, Minnesota, and I promised I would go with him. So Howie, myself, and Pav headed out early. Mark showed us all of his favorite spots, whether they were for the beauty, the fishing, or just a moment of reflection. He took me to his favorite coffee shop, although he would not go in. I did, and they were used to regulars, so they asked if I was just visiting, and I said, nope, proudly, I'm here with family, Mark Pavelich. We arrived at court. Media was present. I might have used my famous words for them when they tried to get a story or to get close to Mark. Those that were supposed to be helping him asked to meet him after court. He expressed how much he enjoyed being home at the nest. He shared with them what he wanted to do in the future. I shared what he was doing all around the nest. Upon leaving, all were hungry, and Mark said, "Can we stop at my favorite smoked fish shop?" He always wanted not to feel like a burden and wanted to get us lunch and meet a friend who had never judged him. He smiled proudly when he introduced me and then said, "Please pick out what you want, my treat." Not being much of a fish eater, they had the biggest shrimp that I had ever saw. Pav got me 6. Howie and himself smoked fish with extra to share back at the nest, plus crackers and cheese. I shared my shrimp with him, and he insisted that I taste his smoked fish and cheese and told me why they were healthy for me. I ate those last 4 shrimp over the next 2 days, and he laughed and gave me a hug, and I have never stopped back there. Watching him thrive did my heart good. Seeing him and Taz completely at peace, the twinkle in his eye, his bashful, sly smile. He would talk about hockey, although usually about others he admired on his team or in his life. I was scheduled to do outreach in Indiana. Mark was at the headquarters building to give me a hug and to tell me to be safe. He said to me, "You saved my life. You gave me home and hope." He said, "I'm not sure how the courts and stuff is going to turn out." I assured him he was doing everything he needed to do and to have faith. I said, "We must get that ranch started. I promised you that I would help." He gave me a hug, turned and walked away, smiled and waved. I blew him a kiss and said, "I love you." That was my last moment with Mark. I received a call from Chuck Bird, a veteran, that Mark, due to his mental health, had died by the means of suicide. The conversation required us to handle the business at hand to ensure all of those that loved him were supported. Media was having a frenzy, and I know that I told many to F off. Spoke and supported his family and friends, including his Nest family, who took a very protective mode, ensuring media did not get into their home. They took care of Taz and each other. They shed tears, had a bonfire, played music, and shared stories about how Mark had helped them and music that they had shared. I was angry for so many reasons and grieving. There was work to do. First, we needed to take care of those who loved Pav. When the family reached out about his memorial, the where, what, when, Mark was very private, and they were still in the midst of grieving. The nest grounds were offered. First, it was his home, where he found peace, love, purpose, and family. Second, because media could be kept at bay so they could privately grieve and celebrate Mark. It was on that day of remembering and eating amazing food by Dave Crane, Rodney Watts singing a special song or two, one to Mark's mom, and then a jam session. Mike Bray made a beautiful leather hockey stick in honor of Mark Pavelich. Mark's family served at West Point. He continued to help veterans through hockey, fishing, and music. It was on that day that the Nest offered a building within our community to the ranch to keep the promise I made to Mark. Some of Mark's family and I have continued to remain close. So Jean says, since Mom's giving you clothes, you truly are part of the family. By the way, Mom, I love the hippie dress. People ask me if I'm angry as Mark Pavelich's cause of death was suicide. In reality, the cause of death was mental health and a broken system. I also believe with all my heart that God needed Pav's heart, smile, and love to sing from the heavens. I also believe that Mark knew that his Nest family would protect him and continue his message of awareness of mental health and protect and let the world know who the true Mark Pavelich was. Promise.